There's an upgraded SEAT Arona arriving in Ireland in time for 261 registration. It is an update of the existing model rather than an all-new car. So what we're looking at is a 5-door, 5-seat crossover, front-wheel drive, based on the same underpinnings as the SEAT Ibiza. Now that car's been updated as well. You'll find our video elsewhere on the channel, and the changes are very similar here. So you get a whole new front end. It gives it a much more modern look. The most obvious change is these new lights. They're full LED. You've got this very distinctive triangular motif here for the daytime running light, and they're also way, way brighter than before, which is great for countryside driving, obviously. The rest of the car has a bit more presence. So this is the style model, but they all get this more detailed front bumper, and this grille is also new. SEAT refers to it as a hexagon because it has 6 shapes, although it's not like any hexagon I've seen before. In the middle, you've got this mesh effect, and it just looks more modern and smoother, I guess, than before. As I said, more presence. Elsewhere, you got new colours, you got new wheels, and there are going to be 3 trim specifications. So it's a bit simpler than it used to be. There's going to be the base Arona, there's going to be the style model, which is what we have here, and then at the top will be the FR. I'll talk about the engines when we go out and drive it, but I think it's worth having a quick look at the updates inside now as well. Inside the updated Arona, there are fewer changes than outside, actually. We're in the mid-spec model here, which is called Style, and there are definitely a few different bits and pieces. So this trim material here is the same material as before, and it's quite high quality, but now it's a different colour. Just contrasts a bit better. Same with this textile material on the door cards, and actually on these air vents, which are quite distinctive. Other bits and pieces I like. There's a new steering wheel, which is really tactile to hold as well. Actually, I quite like that. And there's new upholstery for these seats. So it's an upgrade. It's all about, as SEAT puts it, a perceived upgrade in quality. And you have to say this car still feels good, even though it comes with lots of perhaps what are called old school ideas now. So it's got a handbrake here, parking brake, which you operate by hand, which is almost alien. And it's got separate physical controls for the air conditioning and heating, which I know we bang on about it, but we love that. It has also got a wireless charger here though, so it's bang up to date. It has Apple CarPlay, etc. And there's USB-C ports here. So it has all the mod cons as you'd expect, with a few extra little bits and pieces to remind people that it exists. So driving the Arona now, and one thing you notice in comparison to the Ibiza, which it shares its underpinnings with, like I said, is the extra room inside. So a good bit more headroom. You can sit a little bit more upright if you want to, and you can adjust the seat. There's a lot of adjustment in the seat and the steering wheel actually, which is great. So the car just feels a bit more spacious, even though it is based on the same platform. And I guess that's why people go for it. And well, that, and of course people like the SUV image. But despite the look, it is really just a restyled hatchback. Let's be very honest about it. And that's no bad thing when it comes to driving, of course, because it's pretty much as efficient as an Ibiza. And it's almost as agile, and and it's just as comfortable, and it does everything the Ibiza does. And this isn't a twin test of Ibiza versus Arona in any way, but as the cars are based on the same bits and pieces, I think it's a relevant comparison. And I know SUVs have a bad image in terms of being gas guzzlers and all that, but that isn't what this is. This is barely an SUV, to be honest. It's front-wheel drive, a little bit more ground clearance based on the underpinnings of a hatchback. So really, it's more practical hatchback, let's be very honest about it. And again, that's not a bad thing at all. I'm at the wheel of the car you saw on the outside, which is 1.5 litre turbocharged petrol engine in style specification. That engine, it's a 4-cylinder unit and makes up to 150 horsepower, which is plenty for the size of the car. It's not particularly heavy. It is a little bit heavier than the Ibiza perhaps, and a little bit taller, but really for all intents and purposes it drives the same. And that's a good thing, of course. It means it's agile, but also it's stable. It's pretty decent comfort levels. It's just a great all-rounder, really. And that's kind of what people want. People buy it probably because of its image and how it looks, but it's also got a bit more interior space, and it certainly feels a bit more spacious in here, certainly in terms of headroom. It's not like a gas-guzzling SUV. It isn't particularly inefficient or anything. We're recording similar fuel consumption as we were seeing in the equivalent Ibiza earlier in the day. And it's smooth to drive. As I said, it does everything well. It's not exciting either, but who buys a car like this looking for excitement? It's no hot hatch. And that is why this 1.5 litre version probably doesn't make any sense. Most people won't go for this at all. Most people will stick with one of the 1 litre engines. So there's a 1 litre turbocharged petrol engine option as well. It's 3-cylinder, up to 115 horsepower. You can have it with a DSG automatic or a manual gearbox, and that's perfectly good enough for this car. And I don't mean that in a disparaging way, that's plenty is adequate. It drives well, it's responsive enough. It is almost as much performance as this car in the real world. Sure, if you floor both of them, the 150 horsepower car will feel faster and will be faster, but it's not necessary in this car, which is really good news, of course, to buyers that are trying to keep their costs in check. In the future, we have coming a mild hybrid version of this Arona, and that'll be interesting to see. It's still about a year away, so I wouldn't perhaps wait until you see it come out before you order, because it's as this mild hybrid, it'll probably improve efficiency, but not dramatically. I think that's a fair summary of that. Another unexpected bonus, perhaps, of the Arona shape and the SUV shape is that it's got bigger glass all round. So the visibility is better than in the Ibiza, and it's really easy to see out of this car. It helps, of course, there are parking sensors and a parking camera as well for when you're actually maneuvering, but when you're just driving about day to day, these pillars up front aren't too big. It's easy to see out of these big windows. The blind spots are easily managed. It just makes everyday driving easier. And SEAT has got the normal driving control spot on as well. I mentioned the new steering wheel. And the steering itself is a good mix between directness and lightness, I guess, where it won't overtax the driver, but the car feels agile enough. As you probably noticed from ambling around, you can't really hear the engine or work either, and that's probably the advantage of the 4-cylinder engine. It's just a little bit quieter than the 3-cylinder, but the 3-cylinder engine is a proven unit where we know it well. It's not obtrusive in any way. It's perfectly up to cruising on the motorway if you want it. This 1.5 is probably better if you're loading the car up with people and their luggage all the time, or if you're doing a little bit of towing or putting something on the roof. But really, most people stick with the 1 litre. That's our first look at the updated SEAT Arona. Nothing drastic. It isn't a complete overhaul or anything, but it will certainly remind buyers it exists. It remains an affordable, good quality crossover in the segment. We have, of course, got a full written review on CompleteCar.ie, and as ever, the website is a great resource for those looking for their next new car.